Former President Trump expected to announce his running mate a week from today. That's the report, at least. That would be the first day of the RNC. Senators J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Ohio, Florida, respectively, at the center of those talks, according to reports. This as Trump's fundraising committee already inviting donors to events next week, featuring, quote, the nominee for vice president. Jason Miller is a senior advisor for the Trump campaign. He joins us now. All right, Jason, you can tell us, just among friends, who's it going to be?
Well, great question. Here's what we know is by this time next Monday, we will know who President Trump has selected as his running mate for the 2024 election. President Trump has some great choices. I really like all of the finalists, and it could happen any time this week. Could happen literally right up until the first day of the convention. Guy, what we don't know is who President Trump and his running mate will be running against, ultimately. With all the talk this morning about Joe Biden and whether or not he can hang on in the presidential spot, we also need to be asking the question of how long people in the White House have known about Joe Biden's decline and what's the cover-up been behind it.
So you mentioned the finalists, and there are names that have been put out there, Rubio, Vance, maybe Burgum. Are those really the final three, or could there be some dark horses still out there?
Well, I can tell you that President Trump has discussed even more names than that. And again, this is one of those, it's almost an embarrassment of riches that there's so many good people. And what President Trump has said is that whoever he does pick needs to be able to step in and do the job on day one. Each of the different prospects has their own strengths and I think really can help chart the nation forward. And when you look at that, I look ahead as a campaign strategist to what does that vice presidential debate look like? And again, we don't know if that's going to be Kamala or maybe they swap her out for someone who's even more liberal, more extreme, although that might be tough to do. But I really like the people that President Trump has in front of him.
Jason, very quickly, I want to ask you about this. The First Lady is making this swing through the South today. One of her stops is in Florida. Now, there are people close to Biden who have basically conceded Florida's not probably on the map for them. What's going on? Is this fundraising? Is this a waste of time from FLOTUS?
Well, it really is a waste of time, and I think it's doing Joe Biden a disservice for two reasons. Number one is it's highlighting the fact that Joe Biden cannot do 3 campaign stops in a day. Joe Biden can't do 3 minutes on a campaign trail in a day. We saw what happened this weekend in Pennsylvania. But besides that, I really think that what Joe Biden should have done is told Joe Biden to make good on his promise to be a transition candidate, to hand off the baton to somebody else. But now it's a bit too little too late. President Trump right now is leading, Guy, in New Jersey. He's leading in New Hampshire. He's leading in Minnesota. So while as Democrats might want to talk about going on offense, they're really on their heels in even blue states.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Certainly some of those potential states creeping into the conversation.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.